Thank you for your patience. How are you?
Last day of quarantine isolation. I get to leave tomorrow. So
Oh my gosh. How are you feeling?
physically, I feel fine. Like I said, just it's felt like I've had a bad cold the last couple of weeks, but nothing more than that. It's more the mental seclusion. As I said, I no physical contact with any other human for 2 weeks has been
Oh,
very difficult for sanity.
I can't even imagine.
And I think some days I'm not sure if my body is feeling sick because of the COVID or the fact that I can't go for a walk, so I haven't actually done much for physical activity because anytime I try to do anything, I'm tired, like doing sit-ups or anything else. Like I did 10 sit-ups and my body was tired and I couldn't, and it basically wiped me out, sort of thing. So
Yeah, no, thank you.
and I haven't gained. I don't think I've gained weight. I think my body feels softer because I'm losing, I think, muscle tone because I haven't worked out in a couple of weeks. But
Um,
I get 3 meals a day, so I really can't delve off of, I can't snack and get junk because I can't go get it. So I guess that's the one thing. I didn't bring junk in with me, so I didn't have to worry about eating too much crap. But I'm looking forward to, say, looking outside, nice, sunny, warm day, and it'd be nice to get out there tomorrow back in the land of reality. It feels like I've been out of reality and out of touch for 2 weeks. It's a tough mental grind. The physical, I made it through because I didn't get that sick, but it's the mental stuff that really gets to you.
well, and it's going to be crazy because tomorrow, if you go out and you just jump right back in, I mean, you could get really sick that way too. This thing is just such a nightmare. It really is.
Well, I'm not jumping back in. What I'm doing, I'm going to go drop some stuff off, and I'm going to go back to Regina. That's where I'm from, to see mom and dad and see my family and stuff. It's
They'll be
take a few
excited about
days
it, I'm sure.
take a few days to do that, and whatever else, just to reconnect with loved ones. Is what I plan to do.
Good
So,
for you.
and how are
Well,
things with you? How?
it's good. I've been just really reorganizing, I guess, everything in my head because we're off and running and we're doing stuff that we need to do. And we're moving into the next phase of our program with different people and stuff. So it's just a lot of moving around and connecting dots and stuff like that. But two things. Did you ever, or did Melody ever reach out to you to speak with you about connecting?
No, will do that after we're off this call. I'll send her an email. I
That would
just
be
did.
great. She's been around since 2011 with me, and she actually realized her daughter had autism. I think she's 30 something now, but when she saw my second presentation, I think the second year she was with me, she saw a presentation. She was like, "Oh my God, I think my daughter has autism." So her daughter's a nurse now, and she has a little one, but she deals with a lot with her, and she does well. Melody's good. She's just been in the banking industry a long time. She's putting together a team to help us fund our long-term goals with Sounds of Autism and stuff. So it's going to be really, I think, positive. I just found out yesterday that we were accepted to, so I'll be teaching and educating all the chiefs of police throughout the entire, like it's an international conference that we're doing in Phoenix. So I don't know how many chiefs that is. It's going to be a lot. So I'm going to have to modify my breakout groups, obviously, but I think it's going to be great because I'm going to have the leaders, the top guys, and I can use their feedback to help us really make this program amazing. But and then I just trained our first security forces for our military base. So she's on Air Force Base, mom of autism, and she's going to do the training for all the kids on base. So that's super exciting because I think they have 600 families. So, and it was crazy because right after I trained all of them, I think I trained over 50 security forces over 2 days. The next day they had a lockdown on base because they had an active shooter. And so she's like, I was so excited because we did this training with you. So everybody was like focused on what we should be doing. She goes, the thing that really sucked was all the people that came to help us from the civilian side, they had no idea what to do. And she's like, so everybody needs to learn. So she wants us to train, I think she called it OSI, operations security something, kind of like their FBI. And she said, we need to train them because they don't know and they need to know. So we're working on all of that. So we'll have military training as well, which I think is really good because, I mean, when they go in these other countries, a lot of these kids are chained to their basement floors. You know, they're treated like dogs. I mean, it's really sad. But anyway, long story short, did you get to watch some of the videos?
Yes, I watched, for some reason I gotta load the three, but yeah, I watched the ones with the school and the one, the story with your son and the music was really, inspiring. And then I watched the ones with the Mabel Pritchett school, all the interviews you did with them. So yeah, so to me, that's the biggest thing when you doing a video, just making it a story that connects. And that's what will always, make it work. Like I had a meeting with my job coach last week to work on my presentation for the corporate one that I'm doing with my business mentor. And she delivered it well to me, but I brought in first, like when she brought up a point, like there was, one side was ASD and one was, typical how people work at a workplace. And I bring a firsthand story to that, which makes it a connection.
Yeah.
She's very good with the factual stuff. She understands it from that perspective, but she can't bring a firsthand story. She can say, well, I've had a client who this. And so for me, that's where I can bring a presentation home, is that I live it, there's,
Every day.
and it's something that, you understand because, your son and, others, but that firsthand, I guess, accountability and just to verify to say, well, no, this is how it actually is. Like, because I'm an economics and a business major, you can bring up stats and everything else to back up any sort of point that you want, but it's a story of, my story of, hiding in plain sight or being the invisible minority and things like that. And I just wrote a story last night about ASD and COVID about being in like this because, a lot of times I'm alone and disconnected in a crowd because I don't connect. This time, the physical isolation really made the emotional that amped that up because I was alone with my own thoughts. So there was no distracting my brain, like, because you can get to like, that's how I get through. That's how I cope with a lot of things. You do stuff that distracts you or fits in, then you don't feel so alone because I was physically alone with myself, and there's just a lot of, things dealing with when it came to that, which is difficult for me. I said it was just my brain just had nothing else to focus on except for everything, and then my brain just didn't. Like I couldn't sleep. That was the biggest thing. I had difficulty sleeping because my brain just wouldn't shut off. I wasn't paranoid about being sick and dying, that sort of thing. It was just, like I came here alone because you can't, and then I'm here by myself. And then when I leave tomorrow, I'm be alone still, just that alone feeling, physical, really mesh with the mental aspect of not feeling connected emotionally. And it was just, I had a call with my therapist last week, and unfortunately she had to, like she was sick today, but I cried for about an hour. Like my session was an hour. I cried for about 50 minutes. I was just so overwhelmed with the emptiness that I felt.
You know what's cool though is that you're able to cry. Like our son, it took him a long time to even understand why that happens or how that happens. Like my dad passed away and he goes, I don't know why everybody is so sad, Mom. He's like, we still have grandma, Nana, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this kid, and then we went to the funeral and then the music started playing and then all of a sudden the emotions came because he connects with that.
Yeah, like for me, it's my therapist that's helped that way because I don't cry. Like same thing with my dad. I've seen my dad cry twice in my entire life. Once was when I left home to go to university, and the other time was when his mom passed away. Other than that, I've never seen my dad cry. I
Does
don't
your
cry
dad have
that.
autism?
Yeah, he does. He's not diagnosed.
Yeah.
He's at the age where, like my ex-wife said, well, get him to go to therapy. My parents are in their 70s, and there's no way they're going to therapy. They're just not. At this point, they say, well, we are how we are, and that's that. We're fine.
But do you feel like, honestly, like, I don't know, like the more I spend time doing what I'm doing. I know my team thinks I have autism. I know they do. And I probably do. I was totally different my whole life. My mom said, "You're like a butterfly. You perch and you're gone, like that's how you've always been." And I laugh about it because I'm like, "Mom, if I have autism, it would be really weird to me because I'm very connected with like the emotion, like the compassionate side." I go, and from what I read about it, I don't like Landon. He doesn't go, "How's your day, Mom?" He doesn't care so much about my day. And it's not because he doesn't have a heart or he doesn't have emotions. It's just, he's like, "I'm here. I'm a human. I'm supposed to take care of myself." Like that's his thought process. And when I said, he goes, "You're hurting my feelings." I'm like, "Well, you're hurting my feelings." And he's like, "You have feelings?" Like he didn't even like think about that. And it's not a bad thing. It's just the reality of it, right? Like if I don't dress up, like the one day he goes, "You're acting crazy." And I go, "What?" And he's like, "You're the way you're talking to me, it's just crazy." And he goes, "I don't understand it." And he goes, "I think it's the way you're wearing your hair today." And I don't want to laugh because he's just being honest, but he makes me crack up because I just love him. And so I don't know. Maybe I have tendencies for sure because I see things differently than most of the world. And it frustrates me because people can't see it. I'm like, "Why don't you see what I'm seeing? Like, how do you not see that body language? Or how do you not see like this path? Like, if you do it this way, you're not gonna get to where you need to go. You got to go this way." Like, people just can't see it. And I'm like, "How do you not see that?" It's so frustrating. So I don't know. Like, do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, no, it is. Like I said, that was once I got diagnosed, it explained a lot of things between my own relationship with my ex-wife, is that she would sit there and be upset and cry, and I would just sit there and just be like, "Okay, let's get to the end of it so I can solve what's going on so we can get out of this situation." It made me feel very uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
was like, "Okay, here's the problem, let's solve it. Here, like you said, here's the path. Let's just do it this." And then, there's, and the thing is, I recognize that with my own parents. Once I've evaluated obviously my own stuff since I got, and I recognize that with him. My mom's very emotional. My dad's not there. He doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
My brother thinks he's on the spectrum as well, and I got him a couple books, and he'll never go to therapy either, but he'll read about it. Like I got him a couple books, and he's been reading because he divorced his wife for the exact same reason, is that he didn't connect. Like he emotionally didn't connect, and that was my issue with my ex, is that I didn't emotionally connect, and she wanted more than I could give, and
It's almost like you have to learn how to emotionally connect.
that's what I'm doing in therapy right now. Is that I I took an alexithymia test and I scored 95%. Usually 95% on a test is yay, but no, this means I experience real emotion less than 5% of the time. So I joke that I'm starting with the caveman type of method, is that just learning what my body's telling me and try to figure out emotions from how my body is reacting, and that's how I'm working on it. And I always, like last week when I was crying so much, I said, I blame my therapist because you're getting me in touch with my emotions. I blame you because I'm crying, sort of thing. And that's, I don't understand a lot of it. So that's why I said the last couple of weeks have been very overwhelming because I've had too much time about it. And I think about, as I said, me leaving here, you'd think, you know, I'm going through COVID. I've been isolated for 2 weeks. I think I'd have loved ones waiting for me when I leave the hotel, but I don't. You know, I'm leaving alone. And I made it through. Not that I got that sick, but it has killed people and everything else. And I'm alone. And that just, as I said, the physical isolation really brought the emotional isolation to the forefront, because I was a financial advisor, and I connected well with my clients. But what I had about my therapist is cognitive empathy. Is I understand empathy. I understand how to display it. I understand it. I don't feel it, but I understand what empathy is, so I can display it to others. But I don't connect emotionally. Like I don't feel, like you said, a friend of mine. committed suicide when I was in high school. I was 16. I was 16. He sat behind me in 2 or 3 of my classes. I didn't cry. I didn't get upset. I didn't, understand why he would do that. Like, you're 16. Why would you think that? But I didn't cry. I didn't get upset. And it made you feel or made you think that there's something wrong. Like, why am I not crying? Why am I not upset? And, I was
Are
watching.
I was
Oh,
going to say, my son always says it's part of the life cycle. I mean, obviously this kid took his life, but when people die, he said it's part of the life cycle, mom. Like, eventually everybody's going to die, but you have to go, like, he always has like this logical reason things happen
yeah,
where
yeah,
we I don't want to say we, but a lot of people go to sarcasm to get past their pain and suffering. They go to sarcasm because it makes them feel good. It makes everybody around them feel good. So they do that, you know, but with Landon, it's not, there's never this, like, he gets tired sometimes when people are too sarcastic. He's just like, I'm not here for jokes right now. He just doesn't want to deal with it. I'm like, oh my God. But so let's go back to, I have an idea and I think this might help. So we're definitely looking at ways to make this become a international organization. The hardest things for me is that, we just have to figure out how are we going to provide you with all of the stuff that we're doing. How do we help you build your team? I think I have all those answers. I'm going to be leaving to go to Chicago this Friday, and we'll be gone for 2 weeks. And then I come back on the week of the 24th. When I come back on the 24th, I would like us to begin coming up with our launch plan for at least the first region of your country.
yeah.
And when we do that, it's going to take us time, but I'm okay with that. As long as we're working towards something, I feel good. And I think that as this starts going and you build that model, I believe that this will go quickly. In the meantime, I'm meeting with somebody that has a background in technology, and he can build this program. You probably will laugh at me when I say it because I didn't know anything about this, but it's called LMS, I believe it is. And it's like a management system for training materials or training curriculum and things like that. And you can put everything on there. It's almost like a YouTube page, but you put it in a system and you own all the rights to everything that's on there. Instead of YouTube, once you put it on there, you don't know who can grab it or what's capable. So it's kind of a protective thing. But anyways, he is looking at this as an option for us so that we can just start housing all of our stuff there. Still put some stuff on YouTube, but the majority of it would be there. So if an educator wanted our materials or a police department wants our materials, it would be specific for them and they would have the codes to be able to gather that information. And one couldn't go for the other's information, stuff like that. So we're looking at that right now. So I'll keep you posted. But in the meantime, I would like us just to start. I think we talked about this like a podcast, but I think you just said something and I love the name of this. And I think it might be something we should use, but you tell me. I call everything Spectrum Talks, just like TED Talks, but I go Spectrum Talks. But then Spectrum Talks always goes Spectrum Talks hyphen families on the spectrum, money management, wealth management, whatever it might be, right? But you said the invisible minority group.
Yeah, like that was something that I wrote because I said during my life coaching work, I was in a seminar and I think I told you there's a psychologist talking about the brain chemistry and how to coach and get in touch with people's emotions and that sort of thing. And through my therapy, I understand how my brain's different, like ASD are different. So I asked them that question, well, does this work for someone with ASD? Well, yeah, all brains are wired very similar. And I knew that not to be true. But I'm in a group of probably, I think the group was 48 people, like who were in this webinar. He's the keynote speaker, psychologist. I don't look any different or sound any different than a quote like a neurotypical. So when I tell people I'm on the spectrum, they're like, holy crap, you don't look like it. They can't see it yet.
No.
I'm one in, I think, 54, whatever the number is with autism. That's less of a number than, say, indigenous people here or black, but you can't see it. And I think I said this to you before. My job coach is a black female. Her and I were talking about this workplace diversity thing, and it came up.
Yes.
You stick her on a poster for workplace diversity, everybody gets it right away. Black female, boom. They stick me on there, white male. They're like, "What the hell's he doing on a work?" Like, they wouldn't get it. They'd be like, "Why is he on a poster for workplace diversity?" Or they don't see it because of how I look. And I think that's a lot of it with mental, I guess, difference, is that they don't see it. Like my daughter is the same way. She saw two visibly autistic girls getting picked on at high school, so she doesn't want to make it known she's on the spectrum. She just wants to blend in, and that's what I've done my entire life. Is that you don't want to stick out because of fear of abuse or whatever it is. It's like if you're gay or lesbian or black, you see all this hate going on with people of difference, whether it be race or sexual orientation or even, I'm not sure if you've seen, autistic kids getting picked on in school, but I
Oh
did.
yeah. Yep.
There was this one, and I shared this story. He was a great guy, but he talked a little slow. He was a little slow, so I'm not sure what he had, but he was picked on because he was different, and he was visibly different. I got bullied too, but then I blended in, and that's how I've lived my entire life, not knowing that I was on the spectrum. But to me, it's a huge issue, and that's where, again, my business mentor wants me to talk to corporate clients and work sort of that angle and do speaking engagements. That's what he's got me working on a presentation for that, because he had someone, and I think he had someone at his work. After he talked with me, he recognized him as being autistic. But a week later, the guy quit because he didn't have that socialization I did. Like, he's like your son. If he thought it was like, someone asked him, "What do you think of this idea?" Said, "Well, that's a stupid idea, and here's why." Like, he didn't have that, you know, subtlety or the nuanced. Okay, he would come out and straight out be honest with you. Like, cricket, that's a dumb idea, and this is why. But he wouldn't get that that was, offensive or would hurt your feelings, because feelings, he doesn't have feelings. So it's like, to me, I'm just being honest. What's wrong with being honest? You asked me what I thought. Here's what I thought of your. But he always was rubbing his coworkers the wrong way because nobody wanted to work with him, because most people don't like being told. And it's sort of the ironic thing is, people always say, "Well, just be honest with me." And then when you're honest with them, they don't like you being honest. Yet they get upset with you when you lie to them or don't tell them the exact. So there's that thing of socialization and being able to work, with ASD. And that's something I've done my entire life is fit in. So yes, sorry. I always make a short story long in my
It's
blog.
okay. You know what? I always tell people, I'm the same way. My husband's the same way. Oh my Lord, we tell stories in there forever. But you know what? I always do that because you feel like you have to tell everybody the whole thing. Otherwise, they're going to ask you questions after you're done telling it. And you're like, man, if you just allowed me to just tell you the whole thing, we wouldn't even have another conversation about it. You would have just been like, okay, and moved on. But no, you want to ask me a million questions because you want me to shorten my story, and my story becomes long because of the questions that you have that I could have answered, right?
Yes, but I like that idea for the podcast, like the invisible minority. It's, to me,
Are
that's,
you okay if we use that?
yeah. No, I said for me, it's something that resonates, and as I said, I'm in also a small business entrepreneurial class, and I shared the same story I shared with you, and I think I told you this before. Is that I've never thought of myself as engaging when it comes to speaking, and every time I speak with people about this, they're like, "Wow, you're engaging. You're," and I was like, "Holy crap!" Like I told you, like when I shared it with the group, I made them almost cry and speechless. I'm like, but I don't get that because I'm not wired like that. I don't, you know, think I can elicit an emotional response.
do you feel that you self-identify? I feel like even Landon, he doesn't self-identify. And what I mean by that is he has emotions, he has feelings, and he has this, but he doesn't identify himself as having those things. Because like we watched Temple Grandin, and I love that movie. And he's watching it and he goes, Mom, what's wrong with that lady? And I just laugh, because I'm like, okay, well, she has autism. Why does she act like that? He doesn't like see himself. And I'm like, well, you do those things, but he doesn't see himself doing that, but he can
That's,
see it in somebody else.
yeah, I do. And that's why I'm in therapy.
Yeah.
To try to work on that, because first 6 months, like when I got diagnosed, I had a really good therapist, and then I moved and I didn't find someone until recently. But it took me the first 6 months of therapy, because I went in there because of how I was raised. There's something wrong, like not wrong. If you're mentally, you needed to be. If there was something wrong, if with you. So my first 6 months of therapy, I kept going, I need to be fixed. Like I went to my, how can you fix me? And she kept saying, you're just wired differently. You don't need to be fixed, you know. But that was my generation of, okay, if you see a psychiatrist, okay, you must be crazy. Put them in the straitjacket in the rubber room, because if you saw, but that's just the difference in generations, is that because you're somewhere, it was that way. As a boy, you can't cry, you can't this, you just keep sucking it up and keep going and everything else. And if you had, if you cried, there was just that added layer of machoism when it came to being
Yep.
a boy or a man. And and if you had a mental problem, to go see some help, like oh, my dad is an example. He'll never talk to anyone, even though I even brought this up to my mom, because I was in an autism group, and this woman regretted not telling her parents sooner, because she recognized her dad was the autistic gene, but he had passed away. But her parents had the same issues mine do, for the exact same reason.
Well,
And
did you know in 1980 is in the United States in 1980 was when they stopped institutionalizing people that had a diagnosis of severe autism. 1980. So I'm like, the stigma is still here because our grandparents that are still around, or even my mom's generation, you don't talk about it, because if you say it, you have this diagnosis, you have the stigma. She saw all the things that people had to go through, and they might even institutionalize you. So you can't talk about it.
my
And I'm like,
parents, yeah,
oh
my
my
mom,
Lord, have mercy. No
they don't
wonder.
even acknowledge it. They don't even acknowledge it. And I think, yeah, you're right, because they don't even acknowledge it, that I have. They didn't even recognize until they had a friend whose grandson was diagnosed, and then it was okay for that. But for me, there's nothing wrong with you. You're normal. And I think it also comes down to the fact that there's something, like if I'm on the spectrum, had to do with something with how they parented or something. I don't know, but
No.
that's you're right about that mentality, is that they don't you know acknowledge it. They think I'm like normal, and I am normal for me. As I said, it's something I had to get. Took me, I said, a good 6 months to get over the fact that I thought there was something wrong with me.
So okay, let me show you something. I have to go soon because I got to go pick up my son, and then we're going to go out to this place. We're doing an autism walk here in November 6th. And it's called Making Noise for Autism. And it's going to be where everybody that attends, they'll all pick a color for their team. So we'll have like spectrum colors, all different colors. And it's 10 people on a team. And everybody pays like $5 or $10, whatever. And then they walk. But as they're walking, we have all these things. We have food trucks. We have tons of sponsors and people out there that help with resources and stuff. But we also have like the blow up things and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully COVID allows this. We're going to go meet with the guy today. But it's called Making Noise for Autism because I want everybody to make a handmade instrument, like out of Pringles cans and things like that. They're having a drum or bells or cymbals. And then we'll have a band playing. Now my son's going to say, Mom, that's too loud. But if he wears his headphones, he'll be okay. So but I want to do this because everything we do with Sounds of Autism is bringing noise, bringing this, bringing that, anything, a voice. So like when you talked about bringing a voice to the invisible minority, I feel like our podcast is going to be super exciting because first, I would love for you to pick the topics that you would like to discuss. Because we're going to have topics, because if we don't, we're going to be talking for hours. You know how we are. So we have to really like narrow it down to this is what we stick with. And then we really try to do this topic and conversation within no more than 30 minutes. And probably less, like 15, because we'll go 30. But if we do that, then we're going to put that on the library, and that'll be something that people can do. But then when they go to the library, they can translate all of that to the language that they want to listen to, so they can listen to it all over the world. But I would love to introduce it. Canada meets the United States with autism, blah, blah, blah. We'll do all of that. Like we'll have little commercials. I mean, we'll just make it a ton of fun. But I really feel like let's get started with it, and then we can evolve it. And this could be something when you go out or I go out and we look for funding, this could be something that you say, I would love to have a sponsor to pay for our shows. And then we could do it once a week, once a month, twice a week. I don't care. We could do it every day. I don't care. But I really feel like if we do it every day, people will probably stop listening to us. So we probably need to,
I think
make it fun.
Most podcasts are done weekly, I think is fairly standard. And I've seen them go anywhere from like 20 minutes to an hour sort of thing is the time.
Yeah.
And to me, it's about bringing awareness, bringing things out, and it's topics are endless.
But with us talking, I mean, people are going to have an interest in talking to you and probably hearing a story from a parent. I believe that we have a lot that we can talk about.
Because to me, that's how it should go. Like I said, story connects.
Yes. Can you see this?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. So this is a friend of mine and her husband. They have 4 kids and 3 have autism. So they're going to do something, Families of Autism with Robin Ray, and they'll do an autism talk probably once a month, a little different. Now, I don't know if you've heard this in Canada, but on the bottom, the little infinity symbol, a lot of the autism population is trying to change the logo from a puzzle piece to the infinity symbol because they don't like the puzzle piece. They feel like it makes them different or separate. And I'm like, okay, I get it, but Autism Speaks, the one thing they did really, really good with the millions of dollars they've raised is they've done great with their marketing and branding. And they did a good job in teaching everybody that the puzzle piece aligns with the autism population. If you show somebody an infinity sign, nobody's going to know that you're talking about autism. So I decided that we definitely want to support that voice because it is the voice of autism. And so I incorporated it with the puzzle piece, basically saying that the two are starting to like come together. Now, if we make millions of dollars one day, we'll change it. You're a marketing person. We'll figure out how to do it. But until we do that, puzzle piece has to be a part of this because we don't have the money or the time to spend on changing the marketing and the branding. We might as well just becoming a marketing campaign and forget about helping people. So anyway, I'm trying to explain that to some of these younger populations or generations that want us to be like, well, we need to focus on Black Lives Matter. I'm like, guys, we're not doing the political thing. We're just not doing it. We're going to focus on what the goal is. And the goal is serving our autism population and giving them the opportunity to have the same platform as everybody else when it comes to typical lives and independent and sustainable jobs. That's what our goal is. If you guys don't want to be a part of that, go start your own nonprofit and do your BLM. Good luck. That's what I told them. I lost 3 team members this week because they wanted to use what we're doing to serve the BLM movement. And I said, we have our own movement. We don't have time to focus on somebody else's movement.
That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make sense. So anyways.
To me, it's separate. Black Lives Matter, and it's not even the same.
No, we're our own minority, as you said. Like we have our own issues, we have our own things that we need to address. And when you start adding BLM and LGBTQ and all of those things being pulled into it, you're just losing the message. Now we just become everybody else. We don't want to be everybody else. We're different. So that said, I created this backdrop for them so that they could use this when they do their shows. So it's like kind of like inviting, you know, like we're in our living room talking about our family, stuff like that. Anyways, I just wanted to show you this because I would like us to create a backdrop that we have with our program. And we can even have a logo if you want to. I have 16 logos right now. Why? Because every logo has a different meaning.
You will have to be like when it comes to creativity and art. I peaked in grade 3. I still draw stick people as my artistic.
Okay, no, I don't mind. I just don't want you to think that I'm trying to run everything here.
No, cricket. When I tell people this, like when we bought a place here in Calgary, I painted our front room. My wife wanted it brown. I painted it 6 different colors of brown because she would see it in a different light and say, well, that's not exactly. I know if I look at something, say an art piece, I know what I like when I see it. I can't envision a white canvas and turning it into something, but you show me something after it's done. I'm like, I like that, or I don't like that. Like, but I can't take a blank slate and create something. My daughter is the artistic one. Like she could, as I told you, she could take a picture of you and draw you. I've got the math, logical stuff. I can see numbers and make that make sense. When it comes to creative, like logos or I have no clue until I see it. So I'm just letting you know if you're expecting creative input, that'll be my creative input. You can come up with an idea and I will tell you, I think that looks good, or that doesn't really turn my crank. I will tell you, but to come up with something from scratch, and I agree with you, the puzzle pieces to me that signifies, and that's just wasting time on something that's already a brand.
Exactly. We're just going to ride the coattails. Somebody already spent their money. Why? It has zero. My husband's like, what? Changing that, what value does that have in what we're trying to do? I said, 0. It has zero value. He goes, then get rid of those people. You don't need them.
It has absolutely no value. Like it's like the stuff part doesn't make sense. Like I'm working on this corporate presentation. My job coach said, well, I've done hundreds of those. What sort of, and she gave me a few slides on why would I reinvent what she's been doing when it comes to basic research type information? Why would I waste my time on that? My story is what I bring to the presentation. My firsthand experience is what will make my presentation different because I live it. And as I said, there's stats and facts, and those aren't going to change. The numbers may change as more people get diagnosed. The 1 in 54 may become 1 in 50 or once, whatever. But I don't care. That's I don't need to waste time doing certain things. Like from what people tell me, and this is what my business mentor told me, my story is what makes a difference. My passion about it, me living it, is what will make the difference. When I talk to a corporate group or whatever else, is that I lived it. I was in the corporate world. Here's how I existed. Here's what I found was an issue with people with ASD.
Yep.
And that's, to me, the message he wants me to bring. As I said, I took economics in school. You can get stats to prove any point that you want. Because all the survey is if you pull 100 people, you just get the right 100 people and you can get a majority.
Yes. I know.
Like you can get numbers to prove any point if you know what you want.
They say 99.9% of statistics are all wrong. I laugh. I think that's funny. But you know what? I do want to say, so everything we do is kind of a journey, like the beginning to the end. My business model is beginning to the end. Like where are you at and where do you go and how do you get there? And then how do you just make this a well-oiled machine, blah, blah, blah. So my question to you is, could we start with, when we do this Spectrum Talk, I would like to discuss, I already have a logo in mind. I can't wait to show it to you. I think you're gonna love it. It has a lot of symbolism in it. You'll love it. And it applies to a lot of conversations that we've had together, so that I think it'll really fit, and we can talk about that a little bit. But I would love to speak about, like, the first question I would ask you is, let's think back of the earliest time that you can remember in your life, and you knew that something was different about you compared to everybody else that you saw in life. Like, did you ever even see that? And you don't have to answer that now, but those are the types of conversations that I want to have with you, because I think that I believe that Landon was just like existing, but he really didn't understand everything. And then one day we were sitting at the dinner table, like 16 years old, this kid started telling me all these memories that he has of when he was little. And he remembered the yellow picnic table that had red legs, and he was in a basement that had a jumpy. And I was like, oh my God, he was only 3 years old when he was remembering these things. And I'm like, this kid remembers everything. But we never knew that because he never talked about it.
Yeah, like for me, when you bring that point up, I didn't realize it until I got diagnosed and I started learning more about it. And it made a lot of things like I said, my relationship with my ex, it make a lot of things make sense. I didn't know it at the time, and I know you're looking to go, but yeah, I can talk to that, but I didn't at the time when I was young. I didn't realize it because again, I had friends I blended in. So
yeah, but can I ask you, when you, like, there's things that I've done in my past that now I'm this age and I realize, like, okay, I was a little different. And I look back, I can say, okay, that person was, I definitely had different tendencies than everybody else. But I see it now at this age back then. But I never saw it then. Do you know what I'm saying?
that's exactly what it was like with me.
Yeah.
Once I got diagnosed and learned about autism, I'm like, oh, okay, that, like I said, like the whole when my wife cried, I wouldn't react. Okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
You know, why I do certain things or need, why I always make sure when I gas up, it has to be at 0. Like when I gas up, the last number has to be a 0, whether it's 50, it has to be a 0. There's certain, well, I'm just saying, it's a little quirk like that, you know.
Oh my God, I have a million of them.
Yeah, but there's little things like that where, well, like the suicide story. Like I was listening to a podcast one, and if you need to go to say, I need to go, and then because are we still doing meeting Thursday night still?
Yeah, let me look. I think so. Thursday is
The 6th, because that's when we're gonna start, because you were going to Chicago on Friday. You wanted to meet with, get the training stuff sort of started on Thursday night. But if you,
yes. What time is good for you that day?
I think you had it at 7 o'clock. Like I have to check your invite, but I think it was 7 o'clock or something.
Okay, I might have to change the time. And I say that because I have something that I have to do. But tell me on Thursday, what is the earliest that you can do it? What is the latest you can do it?
Well, I've got nothing doing Thursday. I'm heading back home probably on Thursday. Because I would head home tomorrow, but I got a couple meetings tomorrow, and then Thursday morning I was going to leave. So anytime in the evening, anytime after say 5 o'clock my time would work.
So that would be for my time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me get back to you on exactly what that's going to look like, because now my whole schedule is screwed up, and it's just because of everything else that's going on, getting ready for the trip. But I will look at it and I will send you.
Just send me,
you.
yeah, just send me an invite with the time. As I said, I know we'd set it up tentatively based because you wanted to talk to me, like give me some of the training stuff before you were gone to Chicago for a couple of weeks. So that's.
I do want to do that because I want you to see it, even if our talk. What I might do is, let's see, 5. So that would be 6 o'clock your time. So you would be okay to do it like 6 o'clock your time, 5 o'clock my time, like 30 minutes maybe. Yeah. Okay, I'll send it to you.
You said to block a couple hours, so if whatever time you need, I'll just be at my brother's place, so I can have as much time as you need. But
and then I'll send you materials, and I'll give you some videos that specifically I would like you to watch, like the beginning, like how this even started, like those kind of things. I want you to know everything about us, so I will send those to you. And then if you could just reach out to Melody, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll reach out to her today. I'll send her an email and stuff. But yeah, like, and if you have questions and topics and that creatively, that's where I lack. I don't have the creative brain, but you have a topic, I definitely can talk to and relate and whatever else, and we can brainstorm ideas. And I think